Sup everyone, I'm your female otaku, and I'm here with the Chris Stuckmann of the Chris Stuckmann YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh my gosh.
Hey, the honor is mine. I mean, I'm the one who should be thanking you. You're helping me and we're helping each other and it's all beautiful.
So some of you may be all like, Sloan, how the heck is this? What is going on? Well, if you haven't heard, Chris Stuckmann has a book about the impact of anime called Anime Impact. And I thought it would actually suit this channel very well, as recently, for those of you who haven't seen my previous videos, I've started a new series called Anime Fans Around the World. And also a few months back, I had a video called How Anime Took Over the World in 2017. Throughout these past few months, you guys are pretty much familiar with how much anime has impacted not only anime fans in the United States, but all over the world. And now, Chris Stuckmann has a book about that as well, where he has interviewed other anitubers and just other people as well. In fact, let's just have the author himself explain a little bit about the book.
Well, yeah, basically the concept behind it was the publisher that I had worked with for the Film Buffs bucket list, my last book. They're called Mango Media. They're a great publisher, and their goal is sort of to reach out to people who have strong voices, who have strong opinions, but who also, they have a very diverse crowd of authors as well, which is something that they're really trying to do. And something they asked me about after the film book was anime. And I knew that I had a lot to say about anime and that I have always loved it since I was young, but I didn't really feel like just my voice alone should be heard when talking about something that has really changed and impacted our culture here in America since, many decades ago. I didn't really think it was fair that I be the only person talking about it. So I came back at him and I was like, what if I contact other authors and other people who have been interested in anime for a long time and sort of do a compilation of a lot of our favorite picks, or picks that we think are underappreciated or that just never really got the attention they deserved. And they were like, now that sounds good. It was a lot more complicated and time consuming to work with multiple other authors, but in the end, I think it was really rewarding because I chose about 30 titles that I love to write about. And other authors like Ernie Klein from Ready Player One, and a ton of different anitubers like Glass Reflection, Mother's Basement, Cindy Arturo, Yao Chung Yang of Pause and Select. Just a lot of really great people came back at me and said, how about these titles? And I'm like, I haven't seen some of those, but yes. And so it kind of became really rewarding for me because I would then go and try to watch every title that other authors had picked. And so for the past 4 months, I owe a huge debt of thanks to my wife because she has dealt with me saying every single day, sorry, honey, I'm going to go watch this anime and then write about it. Sorry, honey, I'm going to go watch this anime. And it was really amazing to work with all those people and have such a wide variety of voices talking about this medium that we all respect and love so much.
So it took you 4 months?
Well, I mean, 4 months of legitimate research, and I do mean almost every day, because the thing is, there's a lot of shows. It's not just movies, like anime films. There's tons of shows, and a few of the ones I wrote about are pretty long shows, and I wanted to rewatch them, even if I had seen them before. So, I rewatched many different anime that I had seen, but it had been a while, and so it was time consuming, and it was that plus just running the normal YouTube channel and doing the movie reviews every weekend, and just life responsibilities, and so it was definitely time consuming, but like I said, very rewarding. So the actual writing portion for me, it was sort of like a 6-month back and forth with me and other authors all sort of collaborating. We would email, we would send each other messages through Twitter, and I reached out to people late last year and kind of put out the word on Twitter, like, I'm looking to commission some writers for this project, and a lot of people applied for it, and I talked to a lot of people, and that was really amazing too, because there were a lot of folks that I've been watching for a long time, but I've never really reached out to, and it was just really gratifying to find out that so many people were actually quite talented writers, which was great. But another goal that I have with the book that I haven't talked about that much is that I want to spotlight writers who aren't really known. They're not famous, quote unquote. They're not internet celebrities. They've never had the opportunity to have their work published anywhere in a newspaper or a magazine or on the internet. But I know they're excellent writers, and they've been practicing and they've been working their whole life to do that. And I have some people spotlighted in the book who are nurses. There's a personal trainer who also teaches English as a second language. I have a software engineer who wrote for the book, a data entry specialist. And these are all people who are really terrific writers, and I know that because I know them, and they've never gotten that chance to really shine or show their work to people, but they're also anime fans. And that's something I think that I'm most excited about, actually, beyond the fact that this book is coming out and that people have come together to work on it, is the fact that I've been able, thanks to Mango Media, to spotlight some of these voices that have never gotten a chance to be heard before.
Wow, fantastic. Well, I'm most certainly looking forward to it. But more info on where you can purchase Anime Impact towards the end of the video. So, you've recently completed the comprehensive work known as Anime Impact. What inspired you to write this book?
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that over the course of my life, anime has really kept me going. To me, it's a little more than fight scenes and people screaming and powering up. That's like the guilty pleasure side of it all. But I guess when I was younger, it really helped me find a place of solace during the turbulent teenage years of my life. Super unpopular in school, didn't have many friends. Through anime and through watching things like Toonami, and even before that, Speed Racer, I was able to connect with other people at comic book stores or at conventions who also appreciated anime, and I found friends through anime, and it gave me sort of an outlet to not feel as, I'll just say it, depressed. I spent a lot of my teenage years feeling very depressed. And anime was what kind of kept me feeling like I had something to look forward to every day, because I could watch a new show on Toonami, or I could read about it in an anime publication or a magazine, and then I could go and talk about it with other people who also appreciated it. And so it gave me something to do and something to be happy about. That might be a deeper answer than you were expecting.
It certainly was.
But that's honestly the truth. And I'm being totally real and upfront with you. I'm not going to, hide that part of my life. Anime helped me quite a bit. And so, it even helped me meet my wife. Like, the first thing I talked about with her when I met her, I went to the gym, and she was working at the gym at the time. And she noticed that I was wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt. And she was like, "Oh man, I love Dragon Ball Z. I love Toonami." And I just was like, "What?" Okay, I would like to speak more with you. And then, eventually we got married. So it's had a significant impact on my life. And when the publisher came to me with the opportunity of writing about it, it was like a no-brainer, basically.
That is such a cool meet cute.
Yeah, I know. I know. We both, we often talk about it. The book even has a dedication at the first few pages. And it says, "Thanks for noticing my DBZ shirt, Sam. That was a good day." So that's the dedication, and it's to her, obviously, and people will hopefully understand that.
That is so cute. Oh my gosh. What, if any, influence has anime had on our society?
That's a great question, and that's a major theme of the book, I think. It was one of the... I gave every author just a handful of pointers. The specific direction I gave to everyone was to speak in your own voice. Don't try to uh, you know, up the ante because this is being published. I want people to speak how they speak about anime and tell their personal stories. And one of the best things that I think has come out of that is the fact that many entries have communicated that anime has legitimately helped American culture appreciate Japanese culture. And that's something that very few uh, art mediums do anymore. So much of entertainment now is just driven by just that entertainment. Be entertained, and then you forget about it when it's done. But anime has legitimately helped multiple generations be interested in Japan. Like, that's my number one destination for a vacation. I haven't gotten to go yet. I would love to go just because I want to see the countrysides and I want to appreciate the architecture. And it's even helped people here in America study, other religions and beliefs and customs that they would never have been, exposed to before. And again, anime often gets that reputation. Well, it's just these muscle men fighting and Sailor Moon transformations and stuff, and that's the fun side of it. But there's so much more under the surface that never really gets appreciated, and it has legitimately helped. I think a lot of people here in America appreciate that culture.
Yeah, most definitely. I know my next destination is certainly Japan. Not just Akihabara, the anime city, but I'd also like to visit like Kyoto and the more historical like places for sure, definitely.
That would be amazing.
What's the most significant change you've noticed in the last 10 years in regards to the anime fan base and people who are familiar with anime?
Well, one thing that I think has improved hugely is dubs. If you go back and watch the dubs of like the late 80s and early 90s, it's sad. It's oftentimes unintentionally hilarious. And the work that they did with Cowboy Bebop significantly upped the ante, set the bar high for what English dubs can do. Do I think that you should watch anime in subbed or dubbed? I think you should watch whatever you want to watch. And but it's, I think, a fact that there has at least been a considerable amount of devotion generated to making dubs more improved, and they're a lot better than they used to be. Also, the internet has completely changed the availability of anime when it comes to streaming, like Crunchyroll and services like that, or Netflix is even starting to have a lot more anime available. Like Violet Evergarden is coming out April 5th, which is the newest entry in the book, by the way, because I was able to watch quite a bit of it, and I watched half of it, obviously, because about half was available. And I was like, yeah, this is so damn good, it's got to be in the book. The streaming services like Crunchyroll and Netflix, and just the availability of it to anime fans is so much different. I mean, a lot of writers in the book talk about how back in the day it was like a VHS was like $30, and it was this either a terrible dub or you couldn't find the dub, or if you were looking for the English sub, it was even more expensive because those were produced more limited because the studios assumed there would be less people buying them, and so they were more expensive. And the availability, I think, is probably the biggest. That and the fact that English dubs have been given a little more respect over the years.
So, regarding the significant change with like people who are familiar with anime, would you say it's the same as it was back in the day where people think that, oh, it's just for kids, and you're a loser if you like anime?
I don't think so. I think, especially this year, actually, strangely, with people like Michael B. Jordan tweeting about anime and how he likes Naruto and Dragon Ball Z, and you hear these stories, and there's tons of musicians, especially there's a lot of rappers who love anime, who have like tattoos all over with Goku and different characters they love, and so I feel like there's more of a like an acceptance of it. It's not as much of a niche thing anymore. And there was this great article, I think it was called "Can We Finally Admit That People Watch Anime?" or something like that, that went around for a while. And so I think that, like, hardcore fans like you and myself have always known that there's more under the surface, but I think it's finally starting to get to a point where others are going, "Hey, there's something to this." I even have with the writing of this book, I have finally gotten a friend of mine to appreciate anime a little more. I tried to show him Cowboy Bebop a few years back, and he liked it, but I think he had just been so inundated by Western animation styles that he was off put at first by just the animation style. And just in the past few months, he's come over a lot to sort of like sit with me as I watch different anime I wanted to write about or that I was doing research on. And when we got to Your Name, he was like, "That is one of the best animated movies I have ever seen in my life." And I'm like, "Thank you, sir." And ever since then, it's sort of he's been a little more open to it, and I've seen it happen with people in real life too. So I do think there's positive changes.
So, with the whole going back to your meet cute earlier, I guess you can say that Anime Impact is almost like a love letter to anime. Why is that you have this continuing love affair with anime?
It's weird. It really does harken back to the fact that it has legitimately changed my life in so many ways. You mentioned it with my wife for one. I mean, it's been something that her and I have been able to share, and ever since we met, there's been shows that I've never seen before that she was like, "What? How have you not seen that?" And it's resulted in loving debates about anime, and then we'll force each other to watch certain shows that, like, I got her to watch One Punch Man and she loved it, and she got me to watch Ranma One Half and I loved it, and both of those titles are in the book. I wrote about One Punch Man, and her and I actually collaborate on an article about Ranma One Half, which I'm pretty happy about. She writes about her experience discovering it, and I write about my experience finding the Super Nintendo Ranma One Half hard battle game, which was one of the earliest American anime games actually released in the States that wasn't drastically censored and Americanized, unlike the first Ranma One Half Super NES game, which was released in the States, but they changed the title to Street Combat. Which is just like the greatest thing. Oh, it's so bad. And so I wrote about that, and then how she introduced me to the show, and so it's just been an ongoing thing that has allowed me to connect with other people, and it's helped me build relationships.
Exactly. So, clearly, devotion in anime has spread rapidly throughout the world. What would you say has spurred this devotion?
Wow. That is deep. I know people who have discovered their religion because of anime, like people who have studied like Eastern Taoist principles and stuff through Dragon Ball Z or through Outlaw Star, which has quite a bit of exploration of Eastern religion as well. It's not just like a show with like Gene Starwind in a ship and he's shooting other ships. It's legitimately inspired a lot of people to research different beliefs, and I get a lot of this from a writer in the book. His name's Derek Padula, who wrote about Dragon Ball Z, Outlaw Star, Pokemon, and the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise in the book. And he's also studied Eastern religion quite a bit. And his study of it branched from a love of Dragon Ball Z. And that's something he writes about really beautifully in the book. And I think it's just the fact that, yeah, they're cartoons, quote unquote cartoons, but they come from a culture it's not as concerned about marketability, that's not as concerned about social tendencies, that's not as concerned about, censoring everything. And so you get a lot of unfiltered beliefs and just incredible animation and just stories that are filled with depth that you're not going to get in America. One of the titles I write about in the book is a sort of underappreciated anime called They Were 11, and it was based off of a manga with the same name. Came out in like the mid 80s, I think 1986. And on the cover of it, it looks like a space adventure where there's these 10 people who are on a ship in space, and they're doing their last test before they can get into this prestigious academy. And they discover there's actually 11 people there when there were supposed to be 10. And so one of them is a spy, and it's this mystery, and that sounds fun, right? But the story actually is more about this girl who's there that doesn't feel comfortable in her own with how she was born. She's very conflicted about the fact that she would rather be a man because in her society where she's from, women weren't given the rights that they should have. And so this entire anime from the mid 80s has this incredible arc about gender identity. And like, we're just getting used to talking about that in media now in film in America. This was back in the mid 80s. And so it's something that I really appreciate about anime. They never filtered themselves. They had really mature discussions through animated form for years. And I think I think that's one of the reasons why it has impacted so many different people.
I never even heard of this anime.
It's great.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really great. That's one of the things, one of my biggest things I talked to the publisher about was, can I please talk about anime that's not just Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto, which by the way, all three of those are in the book. But we also wanted to cover titles that we felt were just underappreciated, like They Were 11.
Where can the lovely viewers here buy the book?
It can be pre-ordered now at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, BAM, Books A Million, IndieBound, or straight from Mango, the publisher. And it comes out April 15th. There's a Kindle ebook edition as well as a hardcover edition. And I'm super excited to share it with people. I'm going to try to, I'll give you a little announcement here. I'm trying to get into Colossal Con, which is a big anime con in Sandusky, Ohio. And I want to do a book signing there in May and hopefully be able to like give copies to people and, you know, shake their hand and say thank you so much for reading it. So I'm trying to get that set up. I hope that works out.
Wow, fantastic. Colossicon is a pretty big and really fun convention.
Yeah.
So I really hope that works out for you.
And it's only like 90 minutes away from my house. So that also, I can just drive there. So that also helps.
Wow, great. Well, you guys, you heard it here, where you can purchase Anime Impact and where you can possibly meet Chris Stuckmann for yourself. So thank you so much for coming through to this interview. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. It was an honor to talk to somebody who appreciates the art form. Thank you very much.
Links are in the description to where you can purchase or pre-order the book, and a link in the description for where you can subscribe to Chris. I'm your female otaku. Sayonara.